Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
This is the Pipeman here on the Adventures of Pipeman, W4CY Radio. We are in the Positively Pipeman Powerful Business Strategy segment with our amazing resident expert on business, Michael Barbarita, Next Step CFO. And I have one question for you right now, Michael. What is it that Shark Tank investors always ask about?
There's two questions that they always ask about, and it's something that we business owners should always have available and understand what it is. And that is the cost to acquire a customer and what is the long-term value of that customer. So when I was in the frozen cookie dough business, one of the reasons that helped me get into more doors and to generate more business was the fact that I solved the problem that customers had, and that was they didn't want to waste valuable oven space baking cookies. They wanted those cookies as an add-on sale because they were suggestive selling, as we talked about a few weeks back. But they didn't want to waste valuable oven space baking cookies. For example, if they're a pizza parlor, they wanted to bake pizza. So, but what happened? So the way I solved that problem was to give a free convection oven out with every purchase, every initial order. And my initial order only averaged $50, and the cost of a convection oven was $200. But because I understood both the cost to acquire that customer and the long-term value of the customer, it was an easy decision because the long-term value of a customer was $5,000. The cost to acquire that customer was about $200 to $250. And of course, the additional cost to make once they placed an order was $200. But in the long run, I made out great because I believed in my product. You know, if you don't believe in your product, you could calculate long-term value. You could calculate customer acquisition cost. It doesn't really matter. You're not going to go anywhere. You've got to believe in your product. And because I believed in my product, if I knew once they had it, once they tried it, once they started selling it, it would sell and they would be pleased with it. And that's exactly what happened. And so, but if I didn't understand the long-term value of a customer, I probably wouldn't do it because, and I probably wouldn't solve that critical problem that my customer had. And as a result, I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have gotten into the additional doors that I got into, including international business that I was able to get because of that program. So it's understanding the cost to acquire and the long-term value of a customer is really critical in making business decisions that are going to pay off in the long run. Because if I ask 10 business owners today, would you give a customer $200 in exchange for $50? And I think that answer would, and I know the answer is a resounding no way. Without understanding the long-term value of a customer, without understanding the cost to acquire a customer. And these are questions that Shark Tank investors and all investors, if you are looking for money, ask that you have to answer. Because once an investor understands your profit margin, the long-term value of a customer, the cost to acquire a customer, it's just a machine after that. Yeah. They're willing to throw money at that. That's pouring gasoline on the business and having it explode because it's like a slot machine. All you're doing is putting money in and you're getting a return. Money in, getting a return. Money in, getting a return. So it is still, in my view, two of the most valuable metrics to understand for a business owner, especially if they're thinking about scaling.
Yeah, well, and why do businesses not look at those so highly?
Well, first of all, I think a lot of them don't understand it. I think if you look at the early episodes of Shark Tank, you'll get people fumbling, bumbling, and stumbling when they got that question because they didn't know the answer. Now they're more equipped because they've heard people fumbling, bumbling, and stumbling, and they figure they better know that answer going in. but also it's not that easy to calculate, and at least for most business owners. And so that's one of the services we provide for sure. But I think the main reason is they don't understand it, and they never think of it. It's just something they don't think of, but it helps making decisions incredibly, because if you believe in your product and understand the long-term value of a customer, you'll do a lot of creative things to get customers.
Yeah, totally. And I also think too that one of the reasons business owners need somebody like you in a Next Step CFO is because they don't really think of a lot of those things because they're basically going on the fly,
Right.
and that's like driving somewhere without a GPS.
Yeah, so business owners need what I call strategic time. They're too ensconced in the day-to-day, and they need at least an hour a week to talk about strategically how they're going to build their business, how they're going to solve any operational problems or business problems that they have strategically. And the other thing that it does is that that weekly call with a business owner, we have saboteurs, and I call them organizational terrorists. They're normally family and friends who always are questioning what you're doing. And having that time to not only talk strategically, but to speak to somebody in a supportive environment is very helpful to counter those people who are always questioning what you're doing.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of good reasons why, and you're absolutely right. Business owners are ensconced in the day-to-day. They have no time for strategic work. So if they could set aside an hour, and by the way, we tell you how to make up that hour. We tell you how to find that hour. We actually tell you how to find more than an hour, so that you could free up your time to do strategic things and work on the business instead of in it.
That's really helpful because I've been trying for years to figure out how to do a 48-hour day, and it hasn't been working.
I'm sure it hasn't. I'm sure. Yeah. And a lot of business owners are stuck in that trap. And there's, with the proper management, they can get out of that trap very, very easily. It's just, most of the time with any of this stuff, Dean, I can't tell you, it's just a few little tweaks.
Yeah.
It's not blowing up. We're not blowing up the business here. Okay. It's just a few little tweaks. That's all it takes. 95% of the time.
I'm glad you brought that up because most people, they get overwhelmed, and that's why they do nothing.
That's right.
And they get the paralysis of analysis is what I call it.
And like when they hear shows like this too, it the summation of all the information can get overwhelming for them. And I can just tell you that the sessions that we have are just small tweaks, small little changes. We're not blowing up the business, because that's what they think. They think, oh, in order for me to implement all this stuff, I have to blow up the business and change everything. No, it's just little tweaks over time, and they compound on each other for profitability.
Yeah, it's not changing the business. It's just adding to it.
Right. What we talked about a couple of weeks ago, simply asking, right? Asking for another order of another type of another product or service at the time that you sold the original product or service. That's a tweak.
Yeah.
That's not blowing up the business. That's a tweak. That's an perfect example.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a perfect example of how we help business owners and what they can get out of it.
And where can we get more information and more tweaks and more advice on how to implement those tweaks?
Well, a lot of the tweaks come from our book interviews. And we love doing book interviews because, first of all, it helps us add more content to our book called Powerful Business Strategies, which you can get at nextstepcfo.net free of charge. And by the way, you don't even have to leave an email address. It's our contribution to the business world. So that's number one. But you could also go to nextstepcfo.net/contact, fill out the contact form, And in the message section, just put the words book interview, and I will send you a calendar link to schedule it. And basically, the way the book interview works, it's 60 minutes on Zoom. I present strategies from my book, and then I ask a simple question. I ask, if a business owner in your industry were to implement the strategy that I presented, what would the impact be? And then I document it for the book. That's it. And the value that the business owner gets is they learn business strategies that their competition isn't doing.
And that's key. I think that's the core of success right there, is implementing strategies that your competitors are not doing. That's how you stand out above the crowd.
That's right. And there are several, by the way, because business owners, there's plenty of business owners who don't want to implement these strategies. And once again, just small tweaks. Well,
Michael, tweak away. Everybody's got to reach out to you guys to get some tweaks and get some help. And man, again, some more. This was really, really useful information. I hope people reach out to you, because you know what? This year, we need everybody to be successful. And I think that can happen with you, Michael Barbarita from Next Step CFO. Thank you for all your powerful business strategies. And thanks once again for being on the Positively Pipeman segment of the Adventures of Pipeman.
Thank you for having me, Dave.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.